genuinely, I was so incredibly on board with what that thing was going to do. The idea of being able to create mentoring communities for people within this industry, whether that was people who've got 20, 30 years under their belt who are going to learn from younger people about different subjects, or whether that's people who are coming in fresh to the industry who wanted to understand what it could do for them. That for me was incredibly powerful.
Welcome to Captive Conversations, powered by Captive Wi-Fi. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. I have Kieron Bailey. Thank you for coming. And this is going to be a really interesting one, actually, because Kieron talks a lot of sense, sometimes talks a bit more than me. Or maybe not, actually, to be fair. So I probably do talk more than you.
We could debate that if you want, but I don't know.
It might go on for a long time. But thank you for coming. I'm really excited for this one, actually. It should be really interesting because you have an interesting history. Actually, my little deep dive was like, can you take us back on your 30-year journey?
It's a long time,
that is a long time.
I am old.
You don't look old enough, to be honest with you. So, okay. All right, so we're going to start with the first two questions. Sorry, the two questions from the last guest, which is Travis. He's just done his Ops Club event that happened yesterday. Yeah, did really well. I actually spoke to someone an hour ago who went there who was like, I'm not usually too, but, he went there and he said it was awesome.
I think he picked a great spot for it as well. Yeah. The little book club in kind of Seven Dials. Yeah. It's a really nice kind of space. It is kind of quite there. Yeah. You can then back off and give yourself permission to be away. I think that he should have done it in a slightly bigger space, but I don't think he realised he'd have that many people. It's the first one
he's done, the first one is great. I think, because people like to sort of move into little pockets when they chat. But I think for the first event, he's done so well. And also he did it for charity, which is nice. So
only a payment away, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, right? Great charity. And then the mentality is, I've paid for this now, so I should really go. I love that.
That commitment, that simple bit of commitment for people is absolutely vital.
Love it. So clever. And so the deep dive I did on him for my ChatGPT deep research, I sent to him and he posted it I did a beautiful deep dive on his career.
Nice.
And then it said, Travis beliefs are.
Okay.
It's so good.
Are you going to send me what my beliefs are?
I'm going to send you yours afterwards.
I'm a big fan of this idea. Because I'm still not sure what my beliefs are, if I'm honest with you, Adam.
It's good for your website.
If ChatGPT can give me some information on that, I'm on board.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the questions have come for it too. So we're going to start with this first question, which was, what are you most proud of your career to date?
It is the influence on people's lives. That's it. It's the influence on people's lives. I think I don't have kids. I don't like them, if I'm honest with you. It doesn't always sometimes that weirds people out when you tell them that. But I'm not a big fan. But I do kind of think that we get the chance to really kind of form people. So back in the day as a restaurant operator, you get people who are coming through your door at 18, 19, 20. I don't know about you, when I was 18, 19, 20, I was still very much in the forming process. I did not know who I was really and what I was going to be. So we get the chance to do that. I've had the chance to do that with so many people. People that I still am connected with sort of 15, 20 years down the line, and I look at where they've gone to in their career, like a guy called John Conyers is a really good example. He's people and culture lead at Wagamama. John walked through my doors in Leicester looking for a part-time job. Big pile of CVs. He was like, I love this place. I'd like to come and work here. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, it'd be amazing. However, serendipity put me on the door that day and met him. And I was like, let's sit and have a cup of tea. An hour and a half later, I was like, no part-time job for you, my friend. I've got a manager role that needs filling. You're it. And he was just a bit like, okay. It's not what I signed. It's not what I was expecting. I was like, John, man, come and do it. You know what I mean? We'll work around whatever else you've got going on. But he's now the people and culture lead for that brand. And he's been there for 15 years or so. And that's, for me, the influence and the impact that you get to kind of be in people's lives. I could not be any more proud of that, to be fair. I really couldn't. I've done some cool stuff over the years. You win a couple of awards here and there. Ego went out of the head. That's undoubtedly not in your list, but I lost my head at one point. And that's nice. But the influence and the impact on people's lives, and you see the kind of the joy of the life that they're living now, and you had a small part to play in that. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think positive. I like the word positive change. That's like I love that. It's that sort of sums what you just set up. It's making positive change on that. So okay, yeah, I'll give you that. You're allowed that.
I appreciate it.
Okay, Whose content do you read online and why?
I mean, there's a selection. Michelle Moreno, I love. I think you had her on recently.
Yeah.
She brings joy to my day.
She is a beast.
She is one of those people that kind of, you don't have to talk to Michelle in person. You can just follow her content and you walk away feeling like I'm invigorated.
Yeah.
So I love Michelle's content. I used to love a little bit of Gary Vee, but I just lost my way with him, to be honest with you. He just doesn't do it for me. But I also like people the operators, like Travis is doing really cool stuff. So for me, it's kind of, I don't have a go-to collection because I have a short attention span. I get bored quickly. So I'll rotate around. But Michelle is regular. Michelle Regini from We Recover Loudly, she's regular. People who are actually just making a difference, I think, to be fair. People are actually making the world a bit better. That for me is really, really important. And then there's some tech folks who are all lovely people. Your podcast comes up on my playlist a lot, which is nice. And like episode 47.
Yeah.
Well in, mate.
I know.
That's incredible.
It's got a bit crazy.
It really has.
Literally, I think I've done 5 in the last 2 weeks.
I remember when you first started talking about doing it, like you were just you were getting out there. And
I was asking you a question. Cool. I will say, and I gave so you said to me, you came up to me and you said, please just get your camera and just turn it round and just look at please. I don't want to look at the middle of I don't want your eyes in the middle of the screen. And so we do this thing in the US, digital hospitality. You have to come at some point. It's a horrible time. It's like 6 p.m. Wednesdays and Fridays on there's from Riverside now.
Yeah. Oh, okay, nice.
It's a live stream.
That was on Clubhouse originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It was on Clubhouse originally. They moved to LinkedIn Live, and then LinkedIn Live aren't really doing it anymore. So now they've moved to Riverside, and it's on streamed on LinkedIn and on YouTube.
Okay.
And every week it's something different. Like last week, a couple of weeks ago, like a month ago or so, it was about Wi-Fi. It was great for me. And then the other week it was about.
I love you getting excited about Wi-Fi.
Boom! It was a really interesting conversation about Wi-Fi. Not boring, I promise. But then the other week they were talking about feelings. So I was like, I'm not coming. I was messaging and saying I'm British. We don't talk about our feelings. So I didn't join that week.
See, I'm very different. I lean in a big way. You know what I mean?
You would have been good at that one. And the other one was about. I think last week was about how you make that sale.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So every week is a bit different. They do 2 a week, and it's streamed live, and you should definitely join us. It's a good bunch. But I went on that literally the day after you told me, and everyone went, "Oh my god, that's such a good idea!" And no one had thought about it. These are all content like half of them have podcasts already, half of them have they do stuff and so on. And it was just that they were like, "That's such a good idea." Well, and the nice thing about it is everyone else says, look, if you're looking at a selfie camera, look above the phone. But if you turn it around, you're looking above the phone anyway.
Yeah.
So, I think the weird thing is people staring at you. They're like, I did it, walking around the square over here. And they're like, what's he staring at? But yes.
But that moment where people are staring at you is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Because you get really comfortable with being uncomfortable very, very quickly. I remember literally when I first started creating content, and I remember kind of thinking, right, I just need to put a camera out there and start to do this. And I felt weird, felt uncomfortable. And I had to get past that. So I set a tripod up in the centre of Nottingham. We got a market square in Nottingham. It's huge. Set a tripod up, put a camera up, and just started recording some content. And the world and his dog was looking at me and staring at me. And Nottingham can be a tough town. They're unforgiving if they think you're being a weirdo. Yeah. Like, they'll call you out on it. And a couple of people did. But that moment of doing that for 40 minutes in that moment broke the back for me. And I was like, I don't care now. No matter what anybody ever says about me. And I still get DMs to say, going, what are you doing, you weirdo? Yeah. Why do people care what you've got to say? I'm like, I just don't care. If one person likes it, then I'm all right with that. That's the answer. I don't know what it is. I think it's mainly your accent, to be honest with you. Okay. Because it just flows. And also your little rift that you do as well. But we'll talk to that about in a bit. But okay, we're digressing. It's going to happen throughout the whole podcast. You're going to do some editing.
No editing.
You don't do
straight
editing.
Through. No.
Okay, good.
Only if you say to me, I should have said that.
I'm never going to say that.
Exactly. So I've only had that twice, and it was not very much to do.
If it falls from my face, I'm comfortable with people hearing it.
It's only if someone comes in here, basically, I'll do that. So okay, standard questions. Best hospitality experience.
I mean, there's loads, isn't there? I mean, it kind of comes down to what you're looking for. Are you looking for food? Are you looking for kind of that service experience? I want a service experience. I want food is good and food is nice, and that's important to me. Look at me, I clearly enjoy food. That's kind of a fact.
Me too.
We're in it. So that's clearly important. But if the food's amazing and the service is like, then I'm not going back. So recently, I went to Nottingham's absolutely popping at the moment, my hometown.
The generation, it's regenerating. It's crazy.
Yeah, hugely.
It is massively
it's
changing.
absolutely going off. And it started off with people like Pizza Pilgrims coming to the city. And then I think people were kind of going, oh, okay, they're coming, are they?
Yeah.
So then confidence starts to boom a little bit. But there was a new restaurant.
Instead of it's a London brand, we don't want it. It's changing, isn't it?
Well, you know what? Nottingham has always been quite supportive of the big brands, to be fair. You know, we have a real mix of kind of cool little indies, but then the big brands were all made to feel welcome. Wagga's second site outside of London was Nottingham.
Was it?
It was Manchester and then Nottingham. So it's kind of, we've always embraced it. But in Hockley, there's a lot of cool little indies, and there's a place called Skene. Skene? It's written Skene. I think it's pronounced Skane. So I butchered it, sorry. However, that's not the point. The point is, we went there on a Friday evening, and it was just beautiful. And one of the guys who owns it was looking after the floor, and you could just see that he was invested, he was engaged with it, and it mattered to him. And it was kind of, it wasn't over the top, it wasn't kind of talking to us every 15 seconds. It was just, it was slick and it was seamless.
Little touch points.
Yeah, and you present those opportunities for those little touch points. And I present those opportunities, I specifically and deliberately present those opportunities to see what people are going to do with them. And a lot of times, not enough people do enough with them. But this guy just, literally, the baton was there and he just swung by, like Usain Bolt in a 4x4 relay, took it off and went off with it, did his thing. And it was beautiful. From the moment, like, when my wife finishes her beer, because we're that couple that kind of, I'll drink a cocktail, she drinks a beer. Yeah. But people always put them down the wrong way round. Yeah. These people didn't do that at all. They obviously logged the fact that actually we knew who ordered what. Always makes me happy. And I'm not a big fan of stereotyping. So from that moment where she's kind of getting close to finishing her beer, and he just wanders by and he's like, was that cool? Did you enjoy that? And she was like, yeah, amazing. He was like, another one? Yeah.
I love that.
And he barely even stopped. It was like a drive-by in the nicest way possible. Yeah. So that as an experience for me, the food was incredible. Smoked pom puree. So smoked mashed potato. Never had it before in my life, Adam. I now look for it everywhere I go because it was so good. And you smoke the potatoes before you do anything else to them, which I've never heard of doing. So this mash was just like, I was like, you could feed me more of this. Just keep bringing this. Yeah. And the food was amazing. And the dessert was like a deconstructed cornflake tart. Oh. Even like in school when you're like, oh, so good. It was so good, but it was beautiful. So the food was great, amazing. But the service was just like,
next level.
Made me happy, you know, and I think I look for those opportunities. I went to another place not long before that, and it was my own fault because I went at about 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's crossover time. 3:30 in the afternoon in most restaurants is never incredible.
No, it's like a witching hour.
It's a bad decision. I know that. I see it, but I thought, you know, I'm hungry and I want to eat. So in I went, and I was like, the food was superb, but everything else was a bit like, eh. And if it's meh, I'm not going back in a rush at all. So Skene. Sorry, dude. I don't know.
Oh, don't worry. We'll tag him in.
It works. So you know what I mean? He's a lovely dude as well. Like, really nice fella. Danish fella, weirdly. But him and his three partners they've got three businesses kind of in a line, basically.
Oh, okay.
They've got this wonderful bar that absolutely pops off. They've got a wonderful breakfast place called Yoke, which is 2 doors down. And then on the other side of the street, they've got this beautiful restaurant.
That's clever being near as well.
Very, very smart. Yeah. And they just rotate people around into them.
That's clever.
It's very smart.
And it also helps with the staffing, changing that aspect. I like that.
Very clever.
Okay. Best hospitality tech.
I mean, it has to be good Wi-Fi. Like, if the Wi-Fi is not, it is a fact. If the Wi-Fi is not good, then nothing else works. Yeah. That's kind of it, I think, to be fair. And
it affects the journey, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Like, so I was in Manchester for NRB the other week. Yeah. And I'd stayed in one hotel, but they didn't do breakfast. So I was going for a wander and I thought, I'll just pop into a Premier Inn. Can't beat a Premier Inn buffet breakfast before you even get started. First thing, I'm like, I've not stayed. I just want to come and give you some money to eat a breakfast. It'll be great. And the woman's like, I can't do that for you. And I was like, tell me why. And she said, the Wi-Fi's down, which means you can't take any payments. And I was like, you can't take any payments. I was like, I'll give you cash. Yeah. Can't do that, I'm afraid. I was like, hang on. I said, so let's take a minute. I said, have you ever heard of a guy called Will Gadara? And she went, no. I was like, well, he wrote this amazing book. I was like, I'm going to gift it to you. I'll post it to you. Yeah. I was like, but Will's book's called Unreasonable Hospitality.
I'm currently listening to it.
I was like, there's a moment now where you could deliver unreasonable hospitality. Yeah. How? I was like, it's 9:30. Your breakfast buffet is almost empty. It's chock-a-block on the buffet. You could just let me in there and go and eat some scrambled eggs and some toast and some tea, and I'll walk out and I'll say the best things about you.
Yeah.
And she went, can't do that. And I'm like, okay.
I was so hoping that you'd be like, all right then.
Would have been a wonderful moment, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But no. And that all came from the fact that the Wi-Fi is down. And that the Wi-Fi then impacts every other thing that happens within that business. And that for me is painful, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So good Wi-Fi is key.
Connectivity is difficult.
It's absolutely. Yeah.
As a given.
So it blows me away when that doesn't happen, to be honest with you. And I spend a lot of my days telling people who they should be talking to and who they should be talking to for different suppliers.
Yeah.
And good Wi-Fi is one of those things.
Yeah.
It'll never not make me sad when the Wi-Fi is broken. Because then I just can't watch Sons of Anarchy on repeat as well. I'll be honest with you. That just makes me sad.
I'm with you. Okay. I get it. Connectivity is massive. I mean, especially for Premier Inn not to have, it doesn't make any sense. Like internet, just,
It felt like a weird excuse, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it was 100% genuine.
Yeah. Maybe she was just a bit uncomfortable. And
maybe she just thought, this guy, why do I want this guy in my breakfast buffet? Because he'll destroy it.
You'd be surprised. And there's other people who are like that who would destroy it probably more than you.
I know
there's a guy on YouTube that I forget his name. He does the eats, and he's like tall, super thin. I forget his name, beard, and he goes in. They look at him and they go, "Nah, not gonna
do no damage."
Just destroys.
Absolutely,
I love it. I love that one. Okay. So interesting. It said that this is your hospitality journey. So my researcher was like, you've often described hospitality as a beautiful obsession. And it says here, can you take us back to the beginning of your 30-year journey, and what drew you into the industry? So we're going to go for a bit of a time warp. Where did it start? Were you like in a little bit of a pub in the beginning, or where did it? Because lots of people like.
So I had an epiphany recently, actually, where my moment of joy and connection with hospitality was, and it actually was nothing to do with work. It was to do with my mum. So I'm youngest of 6. Mum brought us up by herself. Chris Fletcher's heard me tell this story a lot, and it irks him because he grew up with a balloon for a toy, like a hot air balloon. I grew up in a very different environment, and my mum brought us up by herself, and she had 6 kids, so she didn't have a lot of time for us to chat with us one-on-one.
Which one are you in the
I'm
6?
right at the bottom, the
okay.
youngest, and I was a sickly child as well, so I made that poor woman's life just a pain in the backside. So I remember actually kind of we didn't eat great food, like we just ate enough to kind of eat and get through. But Sunday lunch, and we didn't have like a roast dinner because we just couldn't afford the roast meat. We had cheese and potato pie, which sounds like a heart attack in a bowl, and it is.
Yeah,
but
sounds awesome.
Honestly, it was so good. I eat it to this day.
Yeah,
not often because my wife tells me I will die, and she's not wrong. However, like for 6 of us, so 6 kids, 7, including my mum, you needed like 15, 20 kilos of potatoes, and then around 7 to 10 kilos of cheese, red Leicester. So to prep the potatoes...
So just red Leicester?
Just red Leicester. Okay. Let's not muck around. So to prep the potatoes, long-winded job. She had me and my twin brother doing it. And then to grate the cheese, long-winded job. She'd like a big industrial block of cheese that was ungrated because it cost more to buy grated cheese. And she was like, I've got 6 idiot children who could all do this, so one of them will do the grating. But I understood, as I was reflecting on it recently, that in those moments, when I sat and grated the cheese with her, I got to talk to her. I got to ask her questions. My mum had a really interesting life. Like, she grew up as an RAF kid, so she travelled the world.
Oh, wow.
Like, she spent time all over Asia, but she didn't get to talk about it very often because, well, she never had the time. So connecting with her in those moments, you got to kind of understand, actually, that's the power of kind of food and meals and hospitality fundamentally, is that power of connection. So it was born there in that moment. I then went and did a work experience at school, did a week in a little coffee shop. It was a crazy place. The guy who owned it was odd. I think he's dead now, so I can say he was psychotic. Guy was insane. Like, I was paid £2.25 an hour when I got I got a summer job. So I worked for him for the entire summer after doing the work experience. Everybody else left after a week, which I took a little personally, if I'm honest with you, Adam. It's difficult not to. And then I worked out really quickly that he was in fact deranged and he just treated everybody really badly. I was a bit like, I just need to make some money. So I'm just going to keep soldiering through it. Until we got to kind of towards the end of the summer, and then he suddenly decided he was going to stop paying me. And I was a bit like, that's not cool, dude. And that's when my stepdad kind of stepped in and had a bit of a conversation with him. He was a big lad, and he paid me. But in that moment, in that summer, I got to spend a lot of time with like a lot of old ladies. Old ladies like me, dude. You know, I've been written into wills many, many times because we connect, like we bond.
You listen. Like, you probably listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
that helps. Being able to just pay attention. Because old ladies, like, I know from my own mum's experience of me being not a very good son at times, they don't get to spend time with people who want to listen to their stories and talk to them. So when you do, all of a sudden they're like, you're the nicest thing in the world. Yes, I am. So I kind of understood in that time that actually connection was just joyous.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was. So it started there really at sort of 16, I guess. I had a couple of years of not really doing a lot, pretending to be a DJ.
Nice.
Played records once a week, got paid okay for it. Didn't really do much else other than lived a very fun life. Left home when I was 17. Mum said get a job or kind of do one. So I was like, I think I'm just going to do one. Me and my twin brother just went, we'll just go. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
We got each other. So we moved out from this little village of Newark, little town, up to the big smoke of Nottingham. And met my wife at 19. My wife's amazing.
Wow, 19.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I first saw her when I was 16. I was like, she will be mine. My brother said, you're fat and funny looking. There's not a chance in hell. He wasn't wrong. I was. But I was like, she will be at some point. Didn't talk to her, obviously, at 16 because I was like scared of everything. I was a very different little boy. Wanted to be a librarian at that point because I didn't want the world to see me, didn't want the world to notice me. But then I got to 19 and I was a bit like, oh, I feel a bit more, little cockier, a little bit more prepared. So I persuaded her that she would be mine. And within 3 weeks, I knew that she would be the woman of my life. And that was going to be it, So we moved in together really quickly.
Yeah.
We had joint bank accounts within, I think, about 4 weeks of being with each other. And that was 31 years ago.
Wow.
She's a remarkable woman. I left her today. We came down on the train and she was off to the Houses of Parliament to go and make MPs feel bad about their efforts towards building the apprenticeship programs. She's amazing, to be fair.
Awesome.
She is. She makes... I said to somebody today, she's the catalyst for everything that's good in me.
Yeah.
And that's it. But at 19, 20, I kind of realised that she was going to do incredible things in her life. And unless I upped my game, she was going to do them without me. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want that. So we got a job. She abandoned her ideas of being a probation officer, which I think was good for everybody. She's not built to be I love her, but she's not built to be a probation officer. So we went and did some work in hotels up in Scotland as assistant managers. Did a year up in...
together?
Yeah, it was amazing, to be fair. Did 6 months just north of Aviemore, and then 6 months on the Isle of Skye.
So were you, before that, had you worked in other places? No. Or just
really blagged into this job as assistant managers.
Yeah.
Like, it was lucky. The couple who ran the one in Aviemore, they were from Nottingham, so we met them to be interviewed, and I talk a reasonably good game most of the time, despite at that point not having had any experience at all. To be an assistant manager in a hotel that had like 100 rooms, it was absurd. But managed to get it. Happily, my wife's degree persuaded them that we were smart people. Yeah. I left school with like 2 GCSEs. Not a great education.
We did the same, to be fair. Same as me.
It's just what it is, I mean, one of them, I think, was art.
I got C in art.
Okay, mine was a C in art.
Yeah.
Can't draw for toffee.
No,
really
me either.
Disappointed.
I had like a sculpture thingy. That's the reason I got a C.
I think I did 3 really good pictures. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, that's really cool. That's worth a C. I was like, okay. So her degree persuaded them that we were smart people. So we got the job. Spent a year up there. What was each of your roles? So Karen worked kind of front of house. On the whole, she was on reception and kind of hosting because she was very presentable. She was beautiful, my wife. That's a fact. I'm funny looking, so they put me kind of in the kitchen to do breakfast. Okay. And I did the restaurant service. Okay. But it was perfect, to be fair, because you could see this was a tours hotel. Yeah. Well, you know about tours hotels, but basically you get kind of coaches turn up for 2 or 3 days to stay. Yeah. And then you just split out and you get a new lot coming through. Systems and processes is what that thing was built on, and they had none. Yeah. Again, this guy is now passed, so I can say it. You had the Mr. and the Mrs. who ran it, and that's what they were known as, the Mr. and the Mrs., which I thought was odd, if I'm honest with you. I was like, where are we? Downton Abbey. But the Mr. and the Mrs., she ran upstairs, he ran downstairs. Yeah. When I say ran downstairs, he came for service with a bottle of Beck's in his hand, and that would maybe be the 13th bottle of Beck's he'd had by that point. Yeah. And this is for breakfast service. This man liked a beer. And they had no systems and processes. So I just went in and was like, this could be better. Yeah. Why don't we make this better? Because better is easy. It's easier for the guest. It's easier for us. We had a South African head waiter who didn't want change and was obsessed. I remember him saying, I was talking about crumbing down at one point because they were making a terrible mess of toast.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, let them sit in their own filth. I was like, you don't understand this, do you? You don't understand the way this works, my friend. We're not going to let anybody sit in their own filth. We're going to make it better for them.
Yeah.
I don't care. I was like, then you should probably just move along, mate.
Yeah.
Like, and at this point, I'm like maybe 4'11", hair down to here.
Yeah.
Just trying to persuade this very angry South African that you're going to get on board or you're going to just move along because it was a different time. You got to have those conversations.
Yes.
So we did a year there, and it was so good. It was so good. It was insane. Like, I remember, like, 3 o'clock in the morning one night, cycling on a stolen bike to the nearest hospital, which was about 15, 20 miles away, because somebody was on the coach, relied on an oxygen tank to breathe.
Yeah.
How many do you think they would have bought for a 3-day extravaganza? More than one, you would think,
have
wouldn't
thought
you?
so, yes.
No, they bought one, and they'd been using that one for 2 days before. So second day in, they were like, I think I'm going to die. Well, that's not good, because that's paperwork. No one wants to get involved with Riddle paperwork, because there's no joy to be had there. So I was like, okay, we'll go and get an oxygen tank. Has anybody got a bike? No one's got a bike. Okay, well, there's a bike there. Anybody know who that bike belongs to? No. Well, I'm having that bike. I'm off. So I'm cycling in the middle of the night, like, trying to get to this hospital, just kind of thinking, what is my world? How is this my world? You know, this is insane. But when I think about kind of what does hospitality mean, it means doing that. It means going above and beyond and do whatever's necessary to make someone's stay better. And better in this case was to make sure that they left alive, which is insane. So did that time and had the best time, but realised after a year that I was 21 at this point. I'm like, there's not a lot going on here.
No.
You know, we were on Sky for the second half of the time, and it was beautiful, but it was very, very quiet. So we kind of, this was nuts. So these people wouldn't let us quit. They wouldn't let us resign. They were like, no, you're contracted. And we're like, I don't think you understand the way a contract works in this situation. I'm not a Premiership footballer. I can just go. We just give you notice. And they were like, no. So we got to the point where we said, right, end of the season, we're going home for a holiday. And then just never went back.
Yeah.
Left all our stuff there. It was nuts. Because if we went back, they would have tried to lock us in there.
Yeah.
Modern day slavery was a vibe. So we kind of just abandoned that, left it. But this hotel had a bar that was attached for locals. And I spent a lot of time in that bar. And I was like, I love this. Actually. This is fun. Like, it's connecting with the community in this way. It's a lot of fun. So we were like, let's go and run pubs. Did 6 interviews with like 6 different pub companies. Offered 5 of the 6 jobs. Met probably the most influential man in my career at that point. I'm so glad that I did, because his name was Alan Cole. And he is very sadly no longer with us. I still have moments where I think, what would Alan do? And then I do that. I have moments where I think, what would other people do? And I do the opposite. But in Alan's case, I think, what would he do? That's my course of action. And in those offers, I met him and, weirdly, his boss. So Alan Cole was the area manager. Alan was his regional manager. And they were both just very, very cool. Alan Cole was an old school punk. You know, he had all that energy. Like, he was in it, and you could see we connected in that way. I've always been very left of centre, musically, kind of culturally, stylistically, whatever. I just don't do central, and I certainly don't do right. So I'm always over here. And I connected in that way with Alan. I was like, this is going to be good for us. And he gave us our first pub, which was a place called a T&J Bernard, which was like a proper kind of real ale pub.
Yeah. I like how the fists go.
Yeah, man, real ale pub. You needed fist in this because it was freaking horrible. It was in a place called Arnold in Nottingham, and 50% of the people in Arnold are lovely, and 50% of them were absolute trash. Yeah. Now, ask yourself, in my pub, this newly given pub, which half of that town was coming into my pub? Was it the lovely people?
No.
It wasn't, no. It was the people who wanted to throw big glass ashtrays at my head. Yeah. And people who wanted to stab me, and people who wanted to shoot me, and people who were very...
Only for the first month, maybe.
3 months.
3 months, yeah.
I just moved them out. We made a decision and said, we want those other people, please. Yeah. So you are all going to have to go. So they were like, could you mind getting us a dartboard at this point? And I was like, you're all psychotic. You throw stuff at me. Why would I give you darts? That's deranged. So we went on this mission, and we just did lots of really small stuff, but just made them know that this was not for them. So tablecloths. We put tablecloths in this community pub. They were like, what's going on there? They were like, it's just a new touch. We're trying it out. put little flowers on the table.
Yeah.
Did all sorts of things that just made them feel like
super uncomfortable.
This is not for us.
Yeah.
And every time they'd be like, why are you changing? It's like, we're just trying some stuff out.
Yeah.
And then one by one, they'd just go away and we'd move across to the pub across the road. And I'm like, it's somebody else's problem. But I reckon in that time there, we did 4 months there. And I think in that time, my life must have been threatened 52 times.
Yeah.
And 3 of those times, I genuinely thought, today is the day that I die.
Really?
Yeah. Like there were some really horrible people who had been and done long prison terms for shooting people and cutting pieces off people. And this one guy who he was the local psycho.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of just saying to him, dude, you can't behave like this in this pub. And I remember just, as I'm saying it, I'm thinking, this is it now.
Yeah.
I hope that I remember to say goodbye to my mum because that's the last thing she's ever going to hear from me. But I'm saying, you can't behave in this way. And if this is how you think you're going to behave, you're not going to be welcome back here. And this guy's like, he's huge, I'm tiny, I'm looking up to him.
Yeah.
And he's leaning down into me and he's like, I'm going to go now. He said, but I'm going to be back. And I will be back in the middle of the night. And you're going to find me standing over you in your little flat up there. And I'm going to be standing over your bed with a razor blade. And I'm going to write my name in your forehead. And I'm looking and thinking, okay. In that moment, the intelligent thing would be to go, well, I prefer you didn't do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite as intelligent as I should be. And I just said, who's going to teach you how to write first? And he just went, you're a dick. I was like, okay, man, have a good day. Bye.
And then double bolted the doors upstairs.
Double bolted, triple bolted. Got a Rottweiler. He was a great dog. Love that dog. Saved me a couple of times. Rottweiler cross football mastiff. Magnificent creature. No one messed with him. But this guy was like, he went to prison less than 2 months later because he shot somebody in the face.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of it. That was the place.
Jeez.
But we turned this place around, got it better. Like, it was the sort of place where Karen would do the daytime service.
Yeah.
And at 6 o'clock, I'm like, you go upstairs, watch the cameras.
Yeah.
And this is me down here now. Because if anyone's getting hurt, it's me who's going to get hurt. Because being the youngest of 6 kids.
It's so interesting that both of you've gone to work. I love the little team.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who he met his now wife. Mm-hmm. 3 weeks later, he's going, I'm going to Thailand for 3 months. You coming? And then she's like, yeah. And they went and they were in a caravan.
When you know,
driving around. It was just, you're right.
Genuinely that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love this.
There's no point in wasting time, man.
No.
Just crack on and get it done.
No, this is awesome.
And I couldn't have done that without Karen.
Yeah.
Because it was hard. It was scary. You know, it was really, really scary.
Yeah.
But having
As I say, behind every powerful man is an even more powerful woman.
There really is.
Yeah.
Smart men have smarter wives, I say. That's one of my rules in life. And she's off talking to Parliament.
Both.
Politicians. That
In
should
Parliament.
be a thing. Yeah, she's incredible. So without her, I couldn't have done that because it was scary. But being the youngest of 6, you learn how to take a really good beating. Can't throw a punch to save my life, Adam. Really can't. However, it's very difficult to knock me down.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. And that's what my brothers taught me at a really early age. So did 6 months there. My boss came to me one day and went, fancy a change? He's like, because you've taken a lot. I mean, I literally got punched in the face every day for 3 months.
Yeah.
I bled a lot. I got to the point where I'd just go to Tesco's and buy the cheapest white shirts I possibly could. I'd buy 7 a week and every day I just threw it in the bin and just moved on. That was it. Because I just got panelled a lot.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm bored of watching you get beat up, Kieron. He's like, you've done what you need to do. You've turned that around, and I genuinely love you for it.
Yeah.
He was like, but let's stop.
That was your test, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was
Genuinely,
basically, if they can do that,
yeah,
then they can do anything.
and keep coming back.
Yeah.
That was the key of it. If you can keep going, if you know that every day you wake up in the morning and you put your shirts on, there's a really good chance by the end of the day you're
I don't think if you were the youngest of 6, this would have been the same. You would have, if you were like the only child, you probably would have been there for a week and then left.
Possibly. They have a big influence on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he moved us along and he moved us to a place called the Angel, the Old Angel, which is one of the many pubs in this country that will tell you it's the oldest pub in the country.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I had the best time. It's just like 7 years of just doing it.
Oh wow! So you went for a small stint in that one, and then you were given the keys to the.
And then it was home. I'd drunk in that place as a young underage boy.
Oh.
I'd had the best time, and it was when I was drinking there as an underager. It was a scummy little place. Drugs being dealt behind the bar, all sorts of stuff going on. Underagers. I mean, genuinely, until I was 21, I looked about 14. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like if I take this beard off, I reckon I could take 20 years off me really comfortably.
I agree.
Dead simply.
Yeah.
So it was a great place. Music was a really big part of it, but it was a scummy place, and stuff was allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I would love to do that because I'd like to make this a place that actually has got all of the good that it's had over the years, and then amplified a little bit.
Was it so when you got there? Was it good, or was it on its way?
I mean, it was on its way.
Yeah.
It was on its way.
7 years is a long time.
Really long time, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
How old are you at this point?
Would have been about 22.
Oh, it's a great time.
Yeah, 22. So still a young lad.
Yeah.
But I employed a lot of my friends and just said, right, lads, we're going to make this cool. And my mates were the coolest as far as I was concerned. I employed my twin brother. Terrible, terrible idea. Nobody ever do that. It's a terrible idea. He's a good lad, but Christ, when he was lazy, that's one of the first leadership lessons you learn. If you're gonna allow people to get away with stuff, then everybody tries to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
And when it's your twin brother, it's very difficult.
Yeah, don't work with family.
Don't work
with family.
Unless it's the woman of your dreams.
Yeah.
But other than that, give it a wide berth.
Yeah.
But what a great place. Like, I love that place. If I woke up in the morning and said that wall's going to change colour, we'd change the colour.
Yeah.
To the point where we got a jukebox in, and this was like Scottish Newcastle at the time. They were the biggest pub company in the country, 2,500 pubs. Everything was run by order. Yeah. And I said to my boss, they sent us a jukebox, and I was like, that's garbage. We need to do something better. And he went, let's just work with it for a bit. And then they came in one day and they bought Candle in the Wind to put into the jukebox. And I was like, no. And the guy was like, well, the engineer was like, I don't know what you took. What do you mean? No. I was like, I'm just saying no. Yeah. He went, no, you can't say it. I was like, I'm telling you, take it away. Yeah. No, I was like, because I'll let them do what they're going to do any second now. Yeah. There's like 6 scabby old punks in the corner looking at him going, we're going to hurt this lad if he puts that in there. Yeah. I was like, they'll do whatever's necessary and I'll let them do it. So I called my boss and I was like, dude, this can't work. This is not going to work. And he went, well, should we buy a jukebox then? I was like, yeah. And he went, well, that means then you've got control of it. He said, so you'll have to declare all the money that comes with it. Yeah. He said, and this didn't happen. So this didn't happen in the world of S&N. They liked order. They liked control. We had an auditor that would visit on a regular basis. They liked their business to be in control. So for him to say, buy a jukebox, put it in, you control the music, you control the money, just declare it to the books, that's trust. That's a level of trust that nobody else had. Now, when he gave me that trust, what do you think I did with it? I was like, I really appreciate that. So I'm going to make it amazing. So we were at this point where we had this jukebox. It was like a big old Wurlitzer. And people bought in their own CDs to put in the jukebox and then paid money to listen to their own CDs.
I love that.
I was like, this is game changing.
Yeah, I love that.
That thing, literally, jukeboxes at that time would take around 20 quid a week. This machine took around 250, 300 pound a week. Wow. Guaranteed.
Yeah, because there's everyone's favourites in there. I love that.
And they supplied the CDs, Adam.
Yeah.
Genius.
Wouldn't it be nice if you went somewhere and, say, for example, you connect to the Wi-Fi and it says, what's your favourite track? Or do you like the music, yes or no? Yeah. And then if everyone says yes or says no, it then changes. Or there's a button on the table.
That's got to be possible, isn't
it? Yeah, it is.
It's possible.
I spoke to Startle the other day, who do this really cool stuff with the music. They put sensors in everywhere as well. And we were talking to them. We haven't got any mutual customers yet. But I said, I said to them, when we do find one, be cool if we can do a little pop-up to say, do you like the music or not? If you don't like the music, if it's more than 3 people saying you don't like music, skip the track.
Got to make a change.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Because music makes it.
I agree, 100%. 100%. Music makes everything.
Even if it's that quiet in the background, it's in people's heads. And for me, it was always really important. I mean, I love music. Like, I've literally, before we've started this, I'm sitting on a little bench in the sun with my kind of go-to hype up playlist that puts me in the right frame of mind that when we sit down, we're going to smash it and do what we need to do. Yeah. Music does that for people. So Startle do some very cool stuff. They're amazing with their kind of the way they look at music within venues.
It's very different. And it's interesting. There's loads out there. Like, you've got the Ambies and you've got the Open Ears and Music Concierge who are just very good at creating that playlist for you. But there's no one really like them thinking about the technology behind it. Yeah. Which is very interesting, like the levels of how many people are there. It's really clever. They wrote a little book, I think.
They did. I read it,
which was pretty awesome.
It's very clever as well.
Yeah.
It puts their brand. Their brand's in my office up on the shelf. That's it. Yeah. So if I'm on a Zoom call, people see their book behind me and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" Yeah. It's a smart move.
I'll have to give you my book. I don't have a book, but I'll make one.
It's my favourite word. It's got so much power and authority. And opportunity.
Well, to be fair, Dan from Airship built one on Canva, and he's like knocked one together, and he's got his bumper marketing. Okay, so the next part was this is interesting because the deep dive that it did on you, which is interesting. The next piece that came up was the training philosophy, and then it says empathy meets accountability, which is a mantra that you live by when coaching teams. How do you apply your approach on the training hospitality staff? To be fair, how did you get into coaching to start with? Where did that go? I mean, we could probably talk about 30 years is a long time,
easily.
So we can probably talk more about your career.
I've told that story a few times. People can find it if they want to hear it. Is the answer.
But bear in mind, how far after that was Hard Rock?
So I did 7 years there.
Yeah.
I did a year with Costa Coffee.
Yeah.
Odd. Did 6 months, 9 months with Whitbread. They swindled me on a bonus, 25 grand.
What?
Yeah, swindled me. I left quickly. I was like, I'm done. And then I went to the Hard Rock. Had a good time.
Yeah.
That's probably the starting point.
Yeah. Is that did you meet Chris at the Hard Rock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the 17 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
So Hard Rock is like, we always had a strong training culture from within Scottish Newcastle. I remember we were a training house for trainee managers. Insane. Like, they'd come and live with us.
Yeah.
Like, it was nuts. I remember the first one came along. He was a Brummie boy called Jay. And I remember him so vividly because we bought a new Dyson with our first bonus, and he used it he let the bath overrun while he was running his bath. And he thought, I'll use the Dyson to clean up the water because he runs a wetback. Imbecile. I want to say bad things about him. He's not dead.
Yeah.
Should be. Terrible. But we'd always had a big training culture, and we always found it was always a big part of kind of how we made people better.
Yeah.
So Wagamama and Hard Rock are the two places where that really develops. And I stopped thinking of myself as like a restaurant manager. I was a people developer. That was it, By the time I left Wagga, 10, 12% of their general managers had started with me as team members.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same as head chefs. John still pulled people and culture. Jamie, who came into me as a snotty-nosed 17-year-old chef from Leicester College, is now the head of food development for Wagamama.
Wow.
He travels the world representing that brand. Like, that was key. And I always kind of knew that actually great experiences were driven by these people. So I needed to find a way of making sure that these people understood that and understood what great looked like, and then how to deliver it consistently, whether I was alive or dead. I had a simple rule in my life. First, any new restaurant, I want them to be able to run the place for a day without me being involved. Then it's 2 days. Then it's I should be able to have the weekend off. Then it's I need to be able to have a week off. Then it's I need to be able to have a month off. And then it's I need to be able to break my leg and never have to worry about receiving a phone call. I had a really clear, structured plan to get them to that point. The only way you get there is by having a really clear, structured training strategy that really delivers that. And it was always the same throughout my business. It's always the same. And there are some people who've come and gone. Raf, one of my mentees, who is just an amazing coach in his own right now. He started with us at Hard Rock, washing pots. You'd talk to him. That guy started out, I make jokes about the modern slave trade. Like, Raf's life started out in the modern slave trade in this country.
Yeah.
But now he's this amazing feedback coach who just helps people to just create these cultures where actually people are open and ready to receive feedback. So it was always a part of what I did.
Yeah.
And the empathy and the accountability, I think.
It's all from the old lady, isn't it?
It is. Honestly, it's my mum, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Everything smart that I'm good at, I learned from watching her. The way that she was able to get people to open up really freely and clearly, and they would tell their life stories, and I would watch it and just think that's remarkable. And I learned by osmosis, and then I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, and I think all of us, if you don't practice and you don't build the muscle, you don't grow. So that's life, I mean, so I spent a lot of time and energy doing that, and in Wagga it was really key, for me. It was massive, and I knew that was a brand.
And what size were they at that point?
Oh, so when I joined, I reckon they must have been around 50 restaurants.
Yeah.
And when I left, they got to about 110.
Wow. Okay.
So they were always going to grow.
Yeah.
That was the objective. You could see it was obvious. And they were really clear about who they wanted in their business, and they wanted advocates and ambassadors who were going to protect the brand and be loyal to it, despite the fact they went through some massive changes, like the insanity of them deciding to install a coffee machine in a restaurant. It was the maddest thing I've ever seen, Adam. Sat in an area meeting, and you've got all these GMs losing their proverbial kind of minds because the area manager's going, we're putting coffee machines in. They're all like, that's not what we do. We're in, turn, burn, in and out, no mucking around. And I was like, Has anybody seen the margins on coffee?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, it's pretty damn good. I spent a year just like flogging Costa. I'll be honest with you, there's money in it. And they were like, what? So let's talk about the margins. And I was like, they were like, oh, okay, so 78, 80% margin. I was like, without question. And they were like, oh, well, maybe we'll put the coffee machines in then. But they wanted brand advocates. They wanted people who believed. And the way that you get that is by finding people who are early in their kind of experience, early in their game, and you indoctrinate them to a degree. You know, you keep going and you keep going, and you allow them to kind of make mistakes. I'm a huge fan of David Marquette, who talks about intent-based leadership, and it's about pushing authority to the point of information. So the people who are on the front line get to make decisions. So when it comes to the door, the hosts should be the one making the decisions, not me as a GM, because I'm not the one who's like right in the middle of it. So they should be the ones making the decision. The kitchen porter gets to make decisions. The sous chef, the line chef, everybody gets to make decisions. But you've got to create the environment and the culture where they feel actually they can do that without feeling like when it goes wrong, because it will go wrong, that they're going to get my like size 10 foot up their caboose. No one wants that. No one wants that fear. So being confident and comfortable with them and getting them to that sense of
building
comfort,
that culture, I guess.
Yeah, it's huge. But it's hard work. There's nothing easy about it at all.
No.
And that was where most of my energy went. The rest just followed, if I'm honest with you. Kind of get it right with them and have a really clear picture about what good looks like. And all of a sudden,
so in Waggers, were you sent? What was the role there?
So I was GM initially. Opened Leicester, smashed it. We killed it. We really did. And I'd love to say that was all me. It wasn't. It was a part of a big development that just we were great. But then I took on Sheffield Meadowhall, which they'd done the same thing. They'd opened as part of a redevelopment, but it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was 256 covers.
Wow.
It was designed to take 70 odd K a week. And the first week I took it over, it took £9,000. I was like, that's not even Saturday. What's going on here? Where there's so much wrong. So then you have to understand. Culturally, there wasn't a problem internally. There was a problem outside. So I sat for 3 weeks outside and just watched. I watched people and how they would react with the building.
Yeah.
And it was intimidating because it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was like really nice design. The entrance won awards, architectural awards, but it was scary as hell to these people of Meadowhall, who we were next to the busiest, second or third busiest McDonald's in Europe. So you kind of had to see what we were going to do. So I remember sitting down with the MD at the time and saying, he's like, right, what we're going to do to get this better? I was like, you see that lovely big wall there? And he was like, yeah. I was like, we're going to smash right through it. And he went, we got this really nice door here and it's award-winning. It's an award-winning entrance. I was like, yeah, but it scares the crap out of people. So we're going to smash a big hole. We're going to open it up all day. I'm going to be there for the first month. Every single person who walks past is going to be me talking. These people are going to see this happen and they're going to start to learn again. Learning by osmosis worked for me, so it can work for them. And I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to teach them what it looks like to actually go and engage with somebody and be brave. Be bold and be brave with a customer. And when they're kind of looking at it and kind of, oh, it looks nice. I remember saying to somebody, right, I was like, you could like the idea, don't you? I'm like, yeah, but it looks quite fancy. It looks like a kind of special occasion. I was like, I'm going to be real with you. This is not a special occasion. This is 34 minutes, in and out, no mucking around. Come and eat. And they were like, I do like the idea of that. So I remember saying to somebody, right, go and eat. And if you don't love it, it's on me.
Yeah.
And they were like, you on drugs? I'm like, never done drugs. Actually, that's not entirely true. Never done lots of drugs. But today, straight and sober as a die.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I said, but let's be clear. I was like, I'm going to ask you at the end of the day, end of the meal, did you love it?
Yeah.
I said, and I'm going to know by looking you in the eyes if you're telling me the truth. So if you tell me you didn't love it just so you think you could get a free dinner, your conscience is going to know that, and I'm going to know it. And me and you, our relationship, is going to be soured forever. And now I remember this little lady just going, this seems quite intense and quite weird. I was like, but come on, enjoy.
Yeah.
Walked and finished it. She had a chicken katsu. Nobody doesn't not enjoy chicken katsu if they eat meat. Everybody loves a katsu. She ate it and she was like, that was really good, And I was like, told you. She was like, I'll happily pay.
Yeah.
I was like, now go and tell all your friends. And we did that a lot. But you've got to be bold. You've got to be brave.
Yeah.
And your team have to see you being brave, because then that makes them feel like
follow by example.
I can be brave.
Yeah.
That becomes really important. So the training and development thing is just, it's always going to be a part of me, never will not be.
I think we had Scott Turner from Auden the other day. He was like,
love Scott, it's good boy.
He does some
his
cool
content
stuff
as well.
Yeah,
good work.
He's done really well, and I mean, he's all over the place with talks and stuff.
It's in Las Vegas.
I think it's the northern side of it. You know, people love a bit of a northern accent. Anything up, you know, doesn't.
It's warm.
It is. It really is. Obviously, mine too, but you know, my accent's everywhere. But
where are you even from?
I was born in Watford.
Okay.
Yeah, born in Watford.
I can feel a little bit of that, but your accent is a lot.
It flicks all over the place. Yeah. I tend to sort of like, you know, feed off other people.
There was a moment where, when I first met you, where I thought, is this boy South African? And I was like, he's actually quite nice. And Spitting Image told me, you're never meeting not South African.
It's definitely not South African. But no, it's weird. I don't know, my accent goes all over the place. And I think it's over the years of speaking to people, and then I used to speak very fast, and I've slowed down. So since I've slowed down so people can understand me, it changes.
So Scott's lovely, warm Yorkshire tones.
He says how it is as well, which is nice. But he said he did some training with people. He brought them to the front of F&B in a hotel, front of the restaurant, and he goes, right, you're going to go here, and the rest of the team are going to walk out and come in, and you're going to greet them like your best mate. And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, just greet them like your best mate. Like what would you do?
Who are you most pleased to see in this moment?
Exactly, right? And they did it, and then he goes, and then there was a whole conversation. How does it feel? La la la. And he goes, after everyone finished, they were like, and he goes, this is what you want to do with everyone. Anyone that comes in, it's your best mate. Best mate that's come in. How are you? How have you been? La la la.
It's not complicated, is it?
Yeah, not complicated. And it's that little cringe factor of getting over that piece of just doing it. And he did some really cool stuff. I think the training piece is, I mean, you do a lot of content about, and we spoke about it ages ago, the coffee shop staff and the pubs and stuff like that. There are some little nuggets of genius out there that people have just got it.
Yeah.
And there are some people that just need to be guided through it. Like my nephew, before he works for Sky News now, just killing it. He's doing really well. Apprenticeship.
Love it.
Really well. But he worked in a pub for like 6 months before, about a year before, and met a ton of different people, managed to have that sort of banter with people and that adjustment. So so the learning in Waggers, was that more of a push up to the next stage?
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's like eye opening, really.
Yeah.
Like it's not a small brand.
When you see the influence and impact that you can have.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy when you work for a big brand to feel like you can't influence that brand because it's a monster. And I lose count of how many people I've spoken to just like, I'm just a number. I've never ever felt like a number in my life. I'm here to make a difference. And for me, it was about, right, this is our corner of the Wagamama world. It's going to be the best. It's going to be incredible, and we're all going to deliver.
You're taking that mentality in and then deploying it to the rest.
Exactly.
I think again, if the top says it's going to be amazing, everyone's in the belief it's going to be amazing.
Well, they trust you. It's a simple answer by that point. So they're in, and they're thinking, well, if he truly believes it's going to be amazing, he's got some good experience.
That's empowerment as well, there. But also, again, the stuff that comes out of your mouth when you talk, people listen. It's not just. I mean. What I say, like, if you were a monotone person standing there with no energy and you said it's going to be amazing, there'd be no belief in it. But because you have the belief in the conversation and the experience that you have, it's really interesting to listen to what you say, because I'm just like, my mouth is open. And some of the stuff you come out with on content or whatever you might say, it's just, I don't know. It's infectious. I think it's probably the word.
I think that the key is, and I was having this conversation about trust. Trust is really important. Do you kind of start off by saying people have to earn trust, or do you start off by saying you've got my trust? What you do with it's your business. For me, the people who say you've got to earn trust, what you're saying is here's a barrier. Already there's a barrier, so life's about to get harder. I choose to say you've got my trust now. So what you do with it is your decision. So once people feel immediately like I trust them, then all of a sudden they're like, well, he's chosen to trust me, so I'm going to get involved. I'm going to get on board. And they're going to get excited. And you're right. And I can't deliver anything in a monotone voice. It's impossible. Genuinely is impossible. But I think that comes from decades of team briefs, of shift meetings, of all-store meetings, of just thinking, I've got to take these people with me. I remember doing an all-store meeting for the last operation I ran. It was a street food buffet style of place. and we had a team of 135 people. I remember doing an all-stall meeting in front of that, and that's the biggest one I've ever done. I remember walking out and thinking, shit me, that's a lot of people. And I had a moment where I was like, I'm going to have to take a breath here and kind of, because I need these to come with me. And there were some difficult people in that room who wanted to have a bit of a row. So I knew what I was going to have to do in that moment. And everything that's gone before that, all of the practice and the muscle memory you build up of how to engage with individuals, all kicks into action. And all of a sudden, they're with you.
Yeah, they're on the journey.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it. And
So,
with people
I'm going to touch on to Otolo now.
Okay,
which is now people on purpose.
Yeah, well,
transitioned.
I mean,
talk to me about the opportunity because that was a freaking. I mean, when it was started, the whole concept of it, the funding that you got, it was. I mean, it was so cool. The opportunity that you got to be able to go and roll with it was great. And then obviously, I know that there's some people, you know, with the pulling of the fund. I thought, talk to me about how that started.
It is what it is. I mean, kind of, Otolo was not our idea. You know, it was done by a guy called James Lemon, who's a good, lovely boy. Works for Stripe now, if I recall correctly. He's doing great work. Understands community really, really well, and he built a little community. But then he won the government funding, and he realised that was going to be a big job. Yeah. And you needed network to be able to leverage that government funding effectively. So we took it on. Myself, Chris, Ian, and Nick. Chris and I had been working together for ages on different stuff, events, creating content, doing all sorts together. To be fair, I was able to persuade him to leave his corporate life and to come and do the things that make him happy. And look what that's turned out for him, to be honest with you. He's one of
it's all your fault.
Well, he is one of the hardest working men you'll ever meet. That is a fact, you know, and he puts me to shame in that way. But giving him that inspiration, giving him that trust and that faith that it could be successful, I think was having that together was really key. So we'd worked together for a while. Ian and Nick, Nick's a recruiter. I have an inherent distrust of recruiters. It's unfair, probably. But we kind of met those guys and we took it and we said, you know what, let's give us a crack. And genuinely, I was so incredibly on board with what that thing was going to do. The idea of being able to create mentoring communities for people within this industry, whether that was people who've got 20, 30 years under their belt who were going to learn from younger people about different subjects, or whether that's people who are coming in fresh to the industry who wanted to understand what it could do for them. That for me was incredibly powerful. And we had a big team, probably too big of a team, if I'm honest with you. We had an office in Southwark, shouldn't have had that, if I'm honest with you. It was an ego thing, I would say. And I'm speaking for myself here. We should have done with the things we could have and should have done differently, and changes we should have made. But the reality was, we did some real good. In that time,
I saw some of it. I mean, I heard people talking about it, and they were like in awe of the stuff that was happening.
I'm really proud of what we did with it. To be fair, I'm sad the way it panned out. You know, we lost the government funding early. They decided to make the decision to reallocate that to somebody they'd been working with for 10, 15 years. This is what it is. We didn't respond well enough or quickly enough in that moment, and we should have made some bigger changes that would have meant some people lost their jobs, but maybe we kept jobs a little bit longer, and maybe we would have been more successful. We should have lost the office, but we didn't do that. So we didn't respond well enough, and that.
But you were on the ride though, so this was a challenge really, because the build up was massive. So there's always these challenges. You know, you're focusing on what you want to do, and the other little things that the challenges in the way do sometimes get in the way. But you
can kind of see that success is like here. It's just that little bit further away. And you're thinking, all I need to do is get to
there.
That point, and actually then we'll be fine. And we had that conversation so many times, but we didn't get there. So, you know, the thing went into insolvency last year, and
but you did a big blow up party before. So
I mean, as you should,
which was awesome.
Should, is the honest. It was literally a month later.
Was it?
It was the day before service. We knew that was going to happen. In my mind, I could see we all knew where it was going to go. But creating service was, you know, you ask about things that you're proud of. Creating service was one of those things I'm proud of. You know, I read something the other day that said Chris was the founder of service. I was like, you mean co-founder? But his, like I say, his hard work and his ability to just put his head down and get it done. And his drive is remarkable. It really is. And we had an amazing time working together. But, you know, creating service together and creating what we'd done before that together, EXP events, we did lots, and we made a difference. And I was clearing out an old hard drive the other day, and I was looking at photos and videos and stuff, and I was like, we did some really cool stuff, to be fair. Some really cool stuff. And the birth of service was probably the one of the best ways for everything to kind of end up the way it ended up, is the honest answer, because that made a difference again to people. And then they've obviously, Chris has run with it and did another really good job this year.
Great job.
So amazing is the thing. But Otolo is one of them, it's kind of, I felt a lot of personal shame for the way that ended, to be fair. And
Maybe you need to be super proud of what it achieved, because it did achieve a lot.
I am there now.
Yeah.
I'm there now. I haven't been there for quite a while.
Yeah.
I hibernated for 6 months last year. I didn't want to see anybody. I came, and we did some work with Imperial Hotels and Claremont Hotels, and they kind of signed up for a leadership contract and paid for the leadership contract, and then we went into insolvency 3 weeks later. And for me, it was dead simple. I was going to have to deliver what they paid for. But it cost me money to do that, and a lot of energy, to be honest with you, dude. A lot of energy, because when you want to hide from the world, you've got to go and stand in a room with 20 people and be this 110%. Those 2 days a week, that was where everything went.
Yeah.
All of the energy went into that. So then for the other 4 or 5 days a week,
hibernation.
I just hid.
Yeah.
That was it. But doing that was the right thing to do. Claremont, lovely people. Imperial are some of my favourite people. Their culture of learning and development and the way they look at life is just on point. You find every now and again throughout your life and your career, you meet people and you just think, this just makes sense. We are connected, and they are very much there. So yeah, man, it was a horrible time. It was a tough time.
But you learn, right?
You do learn. That is it. You learn.
And on the other side, when things happen and things change, it makes you better as a person to learn and to build more. Right?
That is it. And I think if you are comfortable enough to sort of recognise where you've gone wrong, what needed to be different, what you do better next time, and then talk about it, which is really important.
Very
that kind of vulnerability is really key. Because again, to be fair, the best one in the world, it's kind of I am probably the only one out there talking about it right now. I'm being comfortable to do it, and I'm really comfortable with vulnerability, because actually there's a lot of people in the world struggling a lot, and I've had a tough time. We've had a tough time, but there's a lot more out there of having a much tougher time. I met a guy on LinkedIn. I've never met him up until the first time we kind of came together on a call, but I was watching his content, and the tone of his content was getting darker and darker and darker. And I remember sort of reaching out to him and going, dude, do you want to meet up in London? I'm in London next week. Do you want a cup of tea? On me, Ham Yard Hotel. It's my favourite place for a brew. Go there. It'll make you happy. And he was like, man, I'm in Watford and I can't afford to get into London. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's telling me something. So I was like, let's just jump on Zoom, and we started the call, and we did the kind of chitty chatty, yada yada. Oh, Kieron, your office is really colourful and really bright. I've got a really colourful office on Zoom. It's ridiculous. No fake backgrounds for Kieron, just a really bright space. So we do all the 5 minutes of chitty chatty, and then he's like looking at me, and you can see he's kind of hoping I'm going to say I've got work for you. But he said, so what do you want to talk about? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I said, I'm just a bit worried that you were going to do something bad and you're going to hurt yourself. So I just thought I'd just reach out and just sort of, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
Because I can't sit with the idea that somebody else, that concept that somebody else will do it.
Yeah.
Lots of people think somebody closer to him, somebody who knows him better will have that conversation. Well, maybe they don't. And then maybe he does make a bad decision. And so I was like, let's talk.
Yeah.
And he didn't speak for about 3 minutes after I said that. And 3 minutes on Zoom, man, it's a long time to say nothing.
Yeah.
Happily,
were you talking to us?
Nope, I said nothing.
Nothing.
I left him have that space. I said why I was there and what I wanted to do to help him. Made sure I had a cup of tea so I could sit and drink tea for the entire time. Finished my cup of tea in that 3 minutes. And then he just went, I have thought about it. Yeah, I have. He said, and I came close a couple of times. And I was like, well, let's talk about that then. Yeah. So we had an hour worth of conversation, and I think that I think as a world, like I am a bit of a socialist by nature. I think we have responsibility to each other.
Yeah.
I think we need to be better for each other. We need to be there to support each other. We need to stop assuming that somebody else is going to do it and somebody else is going to be the one who makes that call or checks in and just says, how are you doing? I think if you're thinking, I'm worried about that person, then you know what? Do something. Yeah. Give them a call, drop them a message, make the offer to have a cup of tea.
Absolutely.
A brew makes the world a difference.
Yeah, it does.
And knowing for anybody, just to know that somebody's listening, that's a really powerful thing. and somebody's paying attention. It's a really powerful thing. So Otolo was crap, but what came out of it is pretty good, to be honest with you. It's pretty good.
I think it wasn't. I mean, the ending may have
The ending was awful.
The ending was
Otolo was great.
Yeah, Otolo was
the ending
great.
was awful.
Yeah, I think you need to adjust that because it was a great concept, a great plan, and while it was running, it was awesome, and it did some really, really good work, and you should really, really be proud of what that achieved. Forget about the ending because these things happen.
They do,
right? And it's the government as well, right? Bastards. So these are the challenges that you have.
Tory government at the time as well. Very easy for me to hate those people.
Well, to be fair, it's not happening so good at the moment.
I mean,
but anyway,
we've got Tory lights at the moment, so we are where we are. So you're right. We did good things.
You did great things.
There's still a community of people there. Like that page on LinkedIn still gathers followers.
Yeah.
Like on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Which bemuses me, if I'm honest with you, because nothing's happened to it in about a year. But there's people still out there who want to get involved. So just because it ended the way it did doesn't mean it's over.
No.
I would say. I mean, there's a variation of what it looks like moving forward. There's so many people who want to give and give back. Mm-hmm. So let's try and find a way of facilitating that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think even to the point of bringing people together, there's obviously Hospitality Titans, there's Ops Club now, which is great, and then there's Chris's Tech on Toe stuff. That doesn't stop there being a venue that will give you a space for nothing, to bring people together for nothing. You don't have to give a brunch, you don't have to give drinks, you can just bring people together. And I think the thing, since COVID specifically, everyone's there to help each other. I think that it's more open arms. Mm-hmm. So you could so easy the barrier to entry is a lot less.
It is.
I reckon you could bring people together just as a networking thing, and people will flock to it. So I think it's something to look at. Listen, everyone will help. Do you know what I mean? Everyone wants to bring people together. I did an event last week with a couple of people.
You did at the other house.
Yeah,
it looked amazing.
It was a really good event actually. So,
it's a great venue.
The downside to it was it was 4.5 days to arrange an event, and I ran events for.
That is a short time.
I ran events for a very long time, and my brain kicked in, and the events manager was lovely. I went because I was at the Propel thing. I went across the road and I sat with her for half an hour, 45 minutes. Like, right, what do you need? What do you want from me? And just had the whole conversation. Had that nice conversation with them rather than that via email thing. And they were great. She was amazing. The manager was amazing, and with a great team. And it was a great night. But we want to do more of that stuff. But I think forgetting about that. But there's definitely a place where bringing operators and people and hospitality people, not just operators, not just marketers, but people.
The full cross section.
Yeah, like the Otolo event that you did brought a whole ton of people together, and people just had a great time. Yeah, and all you did was a couple of tokens. It wasn't like anything major. It was so easy. So I think, I think that's something you could definitely do. And
the awards thing will definitely come back in some way.
Yeah, but even to the point of just bringing people together, I think you could.
Big win.
I think you could do definitely. Do that. Anyway,
I've got a plan. Is the answer?
Good. I'm glad. So listen, we've talked about cultural leadership. To be honest with you, so I think what's one of the sort of trainings or leadership stuff that you've built that's really made an impact, like in your mind? Is there something that can,
For me, I think so when I read Turn the Ship Around by David Marquette for the first time, I read it and I thought that's a book I should have written because that's how I operated, and that's always been how I've operated. It is letting other people have authority and giving them that space to be able to just make some decisions, but knowing it when it goes well, we celebrate. When it goes badly, we fix. That's it. And we're not going to lose our minds, and we're not going to lose our minds when it's incredibly successful, and we're not going to lose our minds when it's incredibly bad, because it's going to do both of those things. People are going to make poor choices, and I've got to be comfortable. We have to be comfortable to let people make poor choices, because no one learns by just reading a book and going, okay, that's great. Well, I know the theory of it now, but actually I need to go and put it into play. And if I do cock it up, well, then you know what? What do I need to change next time? So that intent-based leadership is absolutely, reading it and thinking, I should have written that. That's disappointing. There's maybe 3 or 4 books where you have that moment. Radical Candor, one of them. I believe that kind of sharing very, very openly and honestly is absolutely the core to what drives people and moves them forward. So there's one. Unreasonable Hospitality. Genuinely
That's a great book.
Infuriates me that I didn't write it. I'm going to Nashville in May.
Okay.
To the Unreasonable Hospitality Summit.
Yeah.
And that's just assuming that I make it through immigration, because Well, they've developed a thing of like stopping people and checking their phones. And if you say, yeah,
Really?
like check it out.
Okay.
8 countries across Europe now have
Yeah.
travel guidance around not going to the US because they check your phone. And if you've said bad things about Trump, you get turned around at the best case scenario,
Okay.
or you get sent to El Salvador
Yeah.
for 10 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
So you just sign out of all your social media accounts and you give them your phone.
That would be the answer.
There you go.
But I've said some stuff over the years. You know what I mean? I'm a
Yeah.
man who has an opinion. I'm
Yes.
it's comfortable to share an opinion.
Yes.
So I'm
So
really
you just need to go with a
excited.
T-shirt saying "I love Trump" and you'll be sorted.
I couldn't. I just couldn't. Just couldn't. Maybe I get a little sticker, put it on my cap,
Yeah.
and then just set fire to it as I get through
Yeah,
immigration.
there you go.
Fools, you've let me in now.
Just the Esther, put your hand in,
Yeah,
you know, just
absolutely.
in and out.
So I'm going to Nashville. I'm going to go and be in a room with Will and his team and about 200 people.
Wow.
And we're going to talk on regional hospitality. Never been to Nashville. Do love a hat, so might come back wearing a Stetson. Who knows?
Black Sheep Coffee just opened up in Texas. I'm not sure how far away, but
Okay.
you should definitely go check their sites out.
I mean, I'm literally. My wife was like, "So you're gonna you booked your flights? You're gonna fly out on I think the thing's the 21st, 22nd." She was like, "So you're gonna fly out a day either side?" I was like, "Yeah, probably." I'm extending my stay.
Nice.
I'm going to travel, and I basically booked flights that basically mean going out there. I'm going to drop off and change in Orlando.
Yeah,
And I'll be
nice.
there for like 18 hours or so. So I've got some friends there from Hard Rock Days who I will absolutely go and hit up. Probably just be recording a podcast with Jim. I love Jim Knight. Jim Knight is a really good starting point if you're thinking about culture. You know, he was the former head of people for Hard Rock.
Oh, okay.
I went and did some training with him when I first joined the company, and it was like full-on indoctrination. You walk out with Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
So I'll go and record some content with him and just have a cup of tea because I love Jim. He's just like this, and then make it American and times it by 10.
Oh, awesome.
Like Jim's like
yeah.
he's like properly like in it. You know what I mean? But he's just, you walk away just thinking, God damn, that's the buzz I needed. So doing that on the way out, and then on the way back, going via New York with a 15-hour layover. So I'm literally just going to park my bags.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on an adventure.
Nice.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go to Brooklyn because the home of hip hop. So I should absolutely go and spend some time there. I was talking to Barty from Bloom's Yard before we started. Went on a cup of tea, and she said, "Oh, I've just been to New York." So she's given me a list of cool coffee places.
Oh, awesome.
She's ransacked the coffee
I'm sure.
New York. She absolutely has. She was telling me about the Starbucks place up there, the big kind of roast house thing that they have. And she was like, she showed me some photos. Like, that actually, that looks cool.
I think there's a couple of like premium, there used to be like a premium Starbucksy in, funny enough, on St. Martin's Lane.
Okay.
And it was like the VIP version, and they had like co-working, and it was so cool. You go in, have much better food, much better everything. Coffee was always nicer. I don't know why. Maybe it was just different style of coffee. Much better. I think it was like Starbucks Premium, I think it was called. It was open
Starbucks
for
Premium on crack.
Yeah, it will be.
It looks insane.
Yeah.
I think she said there's like 5 of them. I remember they opened in Milan, and that must be what they did, because you don't go to Milan and Starbucks and open a standard Starbucks. That'd be nuts. So yeah, coffee, going to go check that out and just have an adventure, really.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Have you been to New York before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the best time. Went with Karen. It was lovely.
Amazing.
But I'm going to go to Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I
cool.
love hip hop. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed I'll make some friends on the streets of Brooklyn.
Nice.
But
okay, so the future. What's the future looking like? I mean, the question is trends in talent and in talent development, but there's lots of really cool apps now, and there's Blend, cool training stuff out there.
Blend have got a really bright future ahead of them.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with you, I was, where was I? NRB. Was it NRB? One of the shows I was at recently, and it was NRB. And somebody was talking about the fact that we need learning apps that are like TikTok.
Yeah.
And Blend.
Your brain.
If Blend were in that room, you'd be like, Jonah.
Yeah.
Jonah. Blend weren't there.
Yeah.
Privy from Sentiment Search was there. They were talking about him, like filming it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's in the back, and I was like, oh, there you go. Good to see you, man. You know what I mean? He was like, just make some content, man. But Blend,
his content's good, though.
He kills it, to be fair.
Yeah.
And these people are on stage saying how great his product is. All of them said how great his product was, which is a fabulous moment.
Yeah.
So I think Blend are going to do some very cool stuff. They're really exciting, but I think that's kind of the evolution of training.
Yeah.
The kind of the face-to-face stuff will always be, and it's always got to be interesting. Last week I went to a session with the multi-unit management team, Lee Sheldon and his team. Lovely people, and they had these guys over from Dublin who do like business simulations. So big screen, projector, everyone's got their iPad or their laptop or their phone, and you can log into this kind of simulation, you make decisions. So you've got all of the peril without any of the carnage that comes on the back of it. So in that example, we had there were three of us, 3 tables, 3 teams. Each was acting as an independent roaster.
Yeah.
So you had to kind of negotiate and collaborate between you to kind of do this deal, which was interesting because one of the teams very quickly turned into a bit snaky and they were trying to get the other 2 of us pushed out of the deal. And I was like, okay, I'm watching you now. Bitter and sweet. I see you. But that for me is kind of, that's where it's going to go. The in-room stuff is always going to exist.
Yes.
But even there, you have to be ready and prepared to make it more engaging.
Yeah.
Because as much as I love the sound of my voice, you know, there's a time and a place where some people will eventually get bored of hearing my voice. I don't know when that day comes, Adam. And I'm terrified of it, if I'm honest with you. But
I think the challenge you have is that like we had a client the other day, went there, brand new site, the guy's sitting there, laptop's there, his coffee's here, and it's the standard video on compliance. And this is the eyes.
It's just there's no fun there.
Going like that, and then gets up, walks to go make his another coffee. The video's still going. He's completed the compliance. Off you go, done.
Ticked his boxes.
And it's old school. It's like,
and there's no place for it.
No,
that's the honest answer.
It doesn't work.
No one's learning. No one's paying attention. No one's engaged.
There's no quizzes. There's no nothing. So I think there's some really cool stuff. You know, you've got All Gravy. You've got Uda. You've got some really cool tools out there. I think that I wish that more operators would use those sort of tools to help ask questions.
It's coming, I think.
You know,
I think people are opening up to
it.
I mean, I have to say, I was at HRC last week on Wednesday, and of all the panels I watched, if everyone on that stage was sponsored to say the 2 letters AI, there's no need for a food bank in this country because every starving child is fed in this country. Everybody seems to believe that AI is the future that's going to solve every problem. No, it's going to facilitate answers. It's going to facilitate success. It's not the answer. But I think there's some really cool stuff. I think people see that they need to try new stuff. And you're right, Matt at Uda's doing incredible stuff. And I know I always enjoy talking to Matt because I always walk away feeling a little bit brighter, a little bit cleverer, and never feel like I'm the stupid one in the room because I undoubtedly am when I'm in a room with him. He's a very bright man.
He's very clever.
But he never makes you feel that way. You learn from him. So like it becomes people like you and me then going out there and kind of when you're talking to those brands and those operators and saying, look, you've got to look at what's happening, what's different out there. So I lose count of how many people I'm introducing Matt to and saying, like, if you are interested in using AI to communicate with your people effectively, he's your boy. Because he believes and he cares and he loves it and he's passionate about it and he can show you it. That's what we need to be doing because that's the way that, and it feels insane when you talk about influencers. People don't think about you and me as influencers because, well, we're not beautiful young people. But the reality is when you're out there having conversations with people, people trust your opinion. And in the world of tech, your opinion is valued. So if you say to me, Kieron, you should check this out, I'm going to go, okay, cool, I'm going to check it out. Done.
I love having the conversation with people. I literally had a conversation with someone earlier, and I mentioned Pretty, obviously, from Sentiment Search, because
everyone is
just because we were talking about other things to help the business and so on, and path to entry. And I just love having the conversation. It's probably the same as you. You can see or feel the struggle. There's a struggle there. I think one of the big things you probably see as well is resource. And the question is, I just don't have the resource. I just don't have the resource. And that's one thing across marketing and ops and everything and people is the resource. And I mean, hopefully technology is helping it out.
There's a bee in my bonnet at the moment about resource or resourcefulness. Where are you lacking? And I think a lot of people are lacking resourcefulness, if I'm honest with you. They've got tools, they've got opportunities, but they're not looking at what those opportunities can do for them and they're not being creative with what you can do. Which is where then, like I say, us connecting them with other people who can help them and just be open to a conversation. So one of the things I'm working on is a thing called Profit First Hospitality, which is I love a collaboration. I like working with other people. I'm awful by myself. I just get sad if I'm honest with you. I just like being around people. So I'm working with Louise Kissack and Gareth Evans, who's he's an accountant. He's more interesting than that sounds. He's a former chef turned accountant.
Oh, there you go. It's very different.
Which helps. And Louise obviously is a marketing whiz, community building whiz. So we built this thing that it's a subscription service. So people pay and they get to come and join the community that we've built. But they get financial advice, they get some marketing advice, and they get some people and kind of operations advice.
Nice. Okay.
But they've also got a whole load of content that we created as well.
Yeah.
But for me, the element of that is actually, so the network that we have and the relationships that we have with very cool people doing very cool tech stuff is we can say, look, fair square, talk to these folks. This bit of kit is going to solve your problem. Like, you look at something like operational excellence. Well, there's an app for that, Holisto. Bernard at Holisto has made a great app. When the first time I saw it, I was a bit like, it's good, but it's not great. Saw it recently, I was like, that's actually where you want it to be. So now I'm going to start talking about that and telling people that. But connecting folks who are out in the regions with the tech that's available to them, that's something that we can do. That's something that we as individuals can do that can help them make their business better. And because they trust us and because they value our opinion, then all of a sudden it's like, cool. So we've all got that responsibility, I think.
So what's the service that you'll
So Profit First, it's like I say, it's a subscription. So once a month we do roundtables, and it's a digital roundtable, and then every other month we do a space where they kind of come together. And we do different events, and we'll talk around different subjects. Last one, I was in Burnley and Southport in January and February, both beautiful towns. Don't do that. But we were talking about systems and process. Because I genuinely, all of the fluffy stuff that I like to do, all of that is founded in systems and process. Because if systems and process are in place, then
we've been talking about that from the start of this podcast. To be fair,
it's never going to change.
From the hotel up north to
never ever going to change, man. Never. So you do that and you get that right, and all of a sudden the good stuff
everything
starts to follow.
flows through.
So man, that's kind of it, and that's a big one for me. I think I like to be able to help people. I'm a helper by nature. I like this realization. I can't not. If somebody brings me a challenge, I'm sitting there trying to think, well, how can we make that
How does that work?
Yeah.
I like that. To be fair, you were the troubleshooter. Back to Wagamama days, it's all about throwing that person in and being a troubleshooter, and then it tees up from there. So this is awesome. Thank you.
It's been long, hasn't it?
We're coming up to. I think that you're nearly as much as Mark McCulloch, so you're doing all right. To be fair, so he I think he hit an hour and 35, 40 minutes.
So
you'll be like an hour and a bit. So you're doing all right. Actually, to be fair. So we're all good, and there's still enough juice left.
Going,
which is really good. But so I'm going to give you a little.
I'll take that.
Nice little round of applause, which
we
they
all
can
need
hear.
that in our lives.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to the last questions.
Okay.
And the last questions is best restaurant.
I love Lena stores.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And I was in a WhatsApp group. Somebody was asking me about where you could go as a solo diner. Because I spend a lot of time out of the city by myself. So finding somewhere you can go as a solo diner and feel happy and comfortable and feel like you're involved in something without being involved in something is really key. Lena stores on Greek Street. That counter service just makes me happy.
Yeah.
And the 30 egg yolk tagliatelle. I don't even know how to say it. Italians everywhere are going to be sending me death threats. Taglione. Anyway, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But sitting up on that counter at the pass, I love. You feel like you're a part of those chefs' experience. And you're not, is the answer. They're doing their thing. They're just minding their own business and they're cooking and they're in it. But to sit and be a part of that, but then eat incredible food, then what's not great about that?
Yeah, and they've done a great job of expanding, which is quite nice, taking that.
They really have. Yeah. They really have. And I saw that they're opening up in Manchester very soon, which brings me joy because I'm spending a bit of time up there. At the moment, so that's going to make me happy as well.
Yeah.
But Lena stores are in my head at the moment, and I'm now thinking that actually I'm going to go and eat that for my dinner this evening and just not walk around. To be fair.
Yeah.
But it's great.
It works. Best burger. And this is a challenge, really, because
Well, I'm a raging vegetarian and have been for 30 odd years. Partly influenced by my wife and partly influenced by a documentary about the way people used to eat dogs in North Korea. But that's a different story. That's how you get to 1 hour 35.
Yes.
So I am a raging vegetarian, but
to be fair, the challenge of a good vegan burger is hard, man. Anyway.
Well, it is, but it's. Beyond have really massively improved their burgers, and they brought a different level to the game, so they've made a difference. And I think they probably do have the best plant-based burger. But then I look at that and think, well, obviously. The guys at Honest have just smashed out burgers to the nth degree, and they do a really good vegan one. To be fair, neat burger, great. You know what I mean. You know what you're going to get from it as a plant based. When I think about kind of a meaty burger, I kind of So if when I think about anybody I know who loves a meaty burger, Hard Rock always wins, because the legendary burger there is the most offensive thing in the world. It's like, it's one of those ones that's like a comic book burger, where you're like, I'm going to try and eat this now, but I'm going to eat it from 5 different directions. And I've watched Chris Fletcher do that, and it's not pretty. I've watched my friend Raph do that, also not pretty, and he's a handsome fella, unlike Chris. Have that, Fletcher. But Hard Rock make a great burger from the meaty version.
Okay.
So yeah, burgers.
Well, as we're talking about Hard Rock, because that Hard Rock, well, we can tee on to hotels now. So best hotel.
Best hotel. I love an Eden Lock.
Okay.
They make me happy. They get the vibe right.
Yeah.
In every one of them, and I've stayed in 6, I think, around the place, and I've never walked into one and felt unwelcome. I've never walked into one and felt like I'm doing the work. They get it right, and to be fair, they employ a lot of very cool kids. So to get those cool kids to do it right and to hit the mark, is pretty good going, to be honest with you. And that was probably swayed by watching Paul Spence, I think he's the CEO now. He's had about 17 promotions as long as I've known him, but he's an incredible man. And I watched him speak. We did Rooms 101, and he talked about the culture of it. And I thought, that's a place where I want to go and spend time. And every time I've been there, Edinburgh, Manchester, Lisbon, all over the place, I walk away and go, that was great.
Yeah. It's the consistency that's the piece, isn't it?
Consistency is everything. You know, people talk about kind of exceptional. I don't care about exceptional.
Yeah.
I want consistently bloody good.
Yeah.
That's it. And I want to walk away without having to think about whether something was good, bad, or indifferent. I just want to walk away and know that was good, and it made me happy, and everything I wanted was there.
Yeah, put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a simple rule in life.
Yeah,
if you can make me smile, then life's good.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is the memory of leaving somewhere. If you go somewhere and it's a good experience and it's a consistent experience, and you leave with a little memory planted, you're always going to remember it.
Yeah,
you know, always going to remember my little local Italian. He'll come out, the chef will come out, his owner. He'll go to chat to people, you know, and so on. It makes a huge difference.
So I was at Eden Lock in Manchester when I went to NLB, and I'd had a long day getting there, so checked in. And the lass was like asking me how I was doing, where I was going, why I was here. I was okay. Told her what I was here for. And then 2 days later, I was checking out. She was like, how was the show? Did you have a good time? Was it great? She was like, is it still a drunken fest? Is everyone still getting trolled? I was like, all of that and above. Absolutely, yeah. But that was 2 days later, and she remembered that.
Yeah.
And then asked me how it was. And I'm like, that's the difference. That's the thing that's going to make me think, you know what, next time in Manchester, the Lock gets my vote. Simple as can be.
Yeah, 100%. I wish more restaurants would take the hotel aspect of it, but there's a much high turnaround in us. But there's ways of doing it. I wish
that's no excuse.
Yeah, no, you're right. I should make that excuse. 100%. I wish there was. I feel like you need to do a blend course and then send it to some people. And maybe you and Jonah need to have a conversation.
Have a chat. I've got a vision.
So I think that would be a great idea, because you could do quizzes afterwards, and then have that as a piece that they can have as a bolt on to customers.
I'm going to go and talk to Jonah now.
I think you have to,
particularly when I come back from Nashville, having unreasonably hospitality myself.
Yes.
I've already. Sold,
I want to speak to you after.
I haven't even written a course on that yet, and I've sold it to 3 different people. I was chatting with Brian from Dishoom, and I was like, Brian, I'm going to Nashville. And he went, oh, exciting. Told him, and he was like, oh, that's good. I was like, I'm going to come and sell you a course. And he went, you can come and try and sell me.
Yeah.
I was like, don't you worry, Brian. I will.
Yeah.
No commitment.
Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, the nuggets of genius that are going to come out of that.
So many.
Yeah, no brainer. 2 questions for the next guest.
2 questions. Why do you love what you do? What is about it that brings you the joy?
Yeah.
And who's the most important person in your hospitality career? Who's impacted you, and what did that look like?
I like that.
Today. Because I think every one of us has got somebody, at least one, that were able to think about the influence that they had.
Yeah. And
it still impacts you today.
Yeah. Everywhere. It's really interesting. Everyone I've spoken to, there's always there's during that career, it's really interesting to see the journey people take throughout, and the route that get sort of like either pushed through or guided through.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, great. So one more round of applause for you. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you guys, and thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me. And congratulations on 47.
Thank you very much.
You're going to have a little party at 50.
Yeah, absolutely.